They're midterm review questions, so actually I don't think that this is the only things that are going to be on the midterm. It's just these are questions that are designed from main ideas of the lectures.
Okay.
But everything in the slides are important. Yeah.
Okay, so go.
Okay. Okay, cardiovascular system part 2. These are some of the questions. What are the differences between veins and arteries?
So if you guys remember from the lecture, so veins and arteries are both blood vessels, right? Meaning that they carry blood throughout your body. And so if you remember, the arteries carry blood. Oh, that's not good. So the arteries carry blood away from, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, so the arteries are thick and they carry blood away from the heart, whereas the veins carry blood back to the heart. So an easy way that I remember this is artery it carries blood away, so it's like A and A, and then the veins carry blood back, if that helps.
Yeah, the V in veins, I think of via, like via text message, via email. So via is to the heart, and then AOA.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. The next question is, what is the difference between pulmonary versus systemic?
All right, so, sorry. So if you remember, there are two systems in which your heart uses to, I guess, carry blood throughout your body. And so the first system is the pulmonary system. And if you guys remember, that means that it carries the blood from your heart to your lungs. Yeah, and then the systemic carries the blood from the heart to like the rest of your body and back.
The body.
Yeah.
So pulmonary means your lungs and systemic means your body.
Yeah, and how I remember this is that for systemic, you think of your entire system, whereas like, you know that the pulmonary would be from the heart and back. The lungs and back. It's me.
Yes, pulmonary is lungs and systemic is body.
But
so get familiar with those two terms. Yeah. And okay, moving on. What is systolic versus diastolic? I think I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's systolic. She says it differently. But this is again with your heart. Systolic is
when your heart is contracted, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then
yes.
Diastolic is when your heart is relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And so we know that there are a lot of questions about like how, like which part of the heart the blood flows through, and like whether it's oxygenated or deoxygenated. And so we kind of have this little picture here for you guys. So let me make this. Okay, so I don't know if this is like kind of hard to see or if you can see it at all, but if you remember, what are like the 4 main parts of the heart, Kaela?
So there's 4 chambers: the right and left atrium, and the right and left ventricle. So the top ones are the atriums, and the bottom ones are the ventricles.
All right, and always remember
the
that
atriums.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Okay. So the atriums are the ones that are receiving the blood, or and then the ventricles are the ones that are pushing the blood away.
Yeah. Hang on 1 second. So sorry, guys.
Again, no, it's okay. Again, we're new, so we're at VSI, so we're just trying to get used to the functions and everything. So please bear with us.
Yeah, and always remember when you're looking at the heart, you're looking at it from the viewpoint of like someone looking at you. So instead of like the right side being the typical right side for your side, if that makes sense, it's the opposite. So this would be the left atrium, the left ventricle, and then this one over here would be
left
the
ventricle.
right atrium. Oh, that's not good. Okay. And then the right
atrium.
Okay. Then so as Kaela said, the atrium pushes blood away, right?
So I know Professor Hahn has probably confused you guys with the direction of where the blood is going. I mean, that's important, but yeah.
And so if we're talking about like which parts are like oxygenated or deoxygenated, if it helps, I kind of split it into two, I guess. Remember our two systems, so like the pulmonary or the systemic. So how I think of it is that, let's see, let me do a different color. So hang on one second, sorry. So I think of it as the blood moving away this way, right? And so this way, you know that this would be like kind of toward the lungs, because your lungs would be right here. I'm so sorry, I'm not exactly Picasso here, but so the blood moves away from this side. I'm so sorry. And then, so this way would be deoxygenated, because your lungs is where it picks up the oxygen, right? And then coming back, oops, sorry. Coming back this way, it would be oxygenated. And then going from up here, I think of it as like you need oxygen for the rest of your body needs oxygen, right? And so the blood going up this way and through this like little circle here is oxygenated, because it brings the blood up to, like, how I think of it is like your brain and your head is up here, and then the rest of your body is down here. So then obviously the blood would have to be oxygenated because your muscles need oxygen, if that makes sense. Let me know if you guys have any questions, because that wasn't really the best explanation, but yeah. So in brief, going to your lungs, the blood is deoxygenated, and then it reaches the lungs, which picks up the oxygen and then brings it back using your veins, right? Because veins carry blood back.
Via the vein.
Yep. And then it goes through this circular thing, which is the aorta, and that is deoxygenated. Oxygenated, because your brain and the rest of your body needs oxygen. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me know if you have any questions. But yeah. Anyways, moving on.
And then one thing,
sorry.
thing to add is, no, it's okay. The ventricles, they're the stronger parts. Like they have more. Remember in lecture, she was saying that they have more muscle because it needs to be sent out to the body. So the left ventricle would be this kind of technically stronger than the atrium, because they're the ones that are pushing it away, and the atriums are the ones that are receiving the blood.
Yeah, and I don't think she would ask like which parts specifically in the heart like push blood away or whatever, but if you like want to know, just because you're interested, this like circular thing is the aorta, and then this like cylindrical looking thing is the vena cava, And so those are the ones that push your blood out to the rest of your body. But yeah, I guess we can move on.
So the right side is oxygenated, the left side is deoxygenated. Oh, sorry, wait, no. Sorry, I think I said that backwards. So the deoxygenated, and then it goes oxygen. Okay, right, left. Sorry, the left one is,
excuse me,
the
sorry.
left atrium is going to receive the oxygenated blood.
Yes.
And then the left ventricle is going to push the oxygenated blood to the rest of the body.
Yes, if that makes sense.
Okay, just wanted to make that clear. Sorry. Okay.
So I guess moving on.
So
I guess we can do like
we'll
possible
move
questions. Do you want to do possible questions, or do you want to move?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
we can ask one or two. Yeah.
Okay. So the possible questions. So what is okay? Which number is for this question right here? So 120 over 80. So which number is the systolic versus diastolic? Kaela.
So the systolic is the 120, and then the diastolic is the 80, because systolic is the contraction and the diastolic is the relaxation.
Yes. So what is the main function of the respiratory system?
Respiratory system is where it involves your lungs, right? And it's where you need to take in oxygen and let go of the toxins that are inside of your body. So you're going to take in good air, breathe out bad air. And on her slide, she says the main function is to exchange gases, and other functions is to filter, maintain.
Maintain pH, control fluids, homeostasis, if you remember that concept, trying to maintain balance within your body internally.
Homeostasis.
Okay, so what are the 4 processes of respiration?
Let's see. The 4 processes is 1, breathing. This is also in her slides. I'm looking at her slides, so I'm telling you the right information. Breathing, external respiration, gas transportation, and internal respiration. So breathing is obviously moving, is like breathing in and out. And then external is exchanging oxygen with carbon dioxide between the lungs and the blood. So external is lungs and blood. And then internal is exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide again, but this time it's with the blood and the body tissues. So yeah, that slide. So again, because she was emphasizing internal versus external. So just know that external is with the lungs and blood, and internal is with the blood and body tissues.
Okay, and so moving on, what are the parts and the functions of the upper respiratory tract versus the lower respiratory tract?
So the upper respiratory tract is everything that is above, like, again, yeah, see that slide? It's the larynx is the one that's kind of like the middle part between the upper versus the lower. But the upper respiratory tract has the nose, the nasal cavity, the oral cavity, and their function is to filter, warm, and moisten the air. So whatever air that you take in, it's gonna go through there first, and then moving down is the lower respiratory tract, and that's everything below. Let's see, below the larynx, and that's just basically like your whole lung. So that's where everything, the gas exchange is going to happen.
Yeah, so trachea, bronchi, lungs, bronchial trees. That is the gas exchange happening. Or that's where like gas exchange
Mm-hmm.
happens, specifically in your lungs.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the parts of the bronchial tree and what are the functions?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So,
Vanessa.
sorry, my internet is like unstable right now.
Yeah, sorry, it's cutting in and out. So.
Okay, so did you get the question?
No, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, what are the
Sorry.
parts of the bronchial tree and the function?
Okay. The bronchial tree. So it is basically a tree. The
Like
here on the
in your
picture,
lungs?
like there's they're in your lungs, and it's a tree. So the stem, like the wide part, the very very bottom of it, it would be the bronchi, and then the branches on the tree, branches on the bronchi are the bronchioles, and then the branches, which are the bronchioles, have alveolar ducts, and then the alveolar ducts have alveolar sacs. And the alveolar sacs is the most important part of the tree because that's where you're gonna exchange your gases from oxygen to carbon dioxide, or exchanging those two gases. And so it is a tree because it's basically doing the same function as a tree. It's the trees are getting rid of the carbon dioxide. So hopefully that made sense.
And also, like, not to mention that, like, she mentioned that the alveoli is the functional unit of the respiratory system. So this is like where the gas exchange happens, where oxygen from the air diffuses into your blood. And these are like in your bronchial trees. Anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the difference between the conduction zone versus the respiratory zone?
So if we go back to the upper respiratory tract versus the lower respiratory tract, the upper is the let's see,
The larynx, the nose.
it's the conducting zone. Yeah, conducting zone, and then the lower respiratory zone is the
Where the gas exchange happens.
Yeah. Respiratory zone. Conducting zone and respiratory zone.
Yeah, and so the main difference between these two is that how I think of it is that the conducting zone brings air into your body, whereas the respiratory zone is where, like, you, I guess, exchange gases, if that makes sense. So, like, O2.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the alveoli and where is it?
It's again, going back to the tree, it's the very last part of the tree, the very smallest part, and that's where the gases are exchanged inside of your lungs.
Yeah, and so they do this using the capillary relationship. Sorry, I'm trying to find that slide. Yeah, the alveolus capillary relationship. And so this is specifically how the gas exchange occurs. And this is through, like certain transports, specifically diffusion, but we'll go over that later. But yeah, so the capillaries surround the alveoli, specifically, basically just like this picture, if that makes sense. So how are gases exchanged, and what kind of transportation across the cell membrane?
Yeah, this question is basically, if you remember the different types of ways to get across the cell membrane, the very first lecture that we went over, but in your lungs, it's diffusion. because that is the simplest way of transportation without requiring any energy. And like you're breathing every second, so you need to have a fast pace of diffusion across the cell membrane, right?
Yep. And yep. And
Yeah. Okay. So if you have any last minute questions for the respiratory system.
yeah, we went through the first part kind of fast, so let me know if you guys like don't understand it. But do you want to do possible questions? Okay, so
Yeah.
so a possible question she might ask on the test is something like,
she's cutting out again.
sorry, hello?
Hello. Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, I hear you.
Sorry. I don't know why it's like.
Yeah, it's okay.
So, a possible question she might ask on the test is, what is a conducting zone? Hello?
And then again, the conducting zone. Hello, yeah.
Hello? Sorry. I don't know if you hear me.
Vanessa?
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, so the conducting zone is below because that's where it's going to be the gas exchange. Yeah.
Wait, conducting? Conducting is above.
Right? Yeah.
So,
no,
hello?
You're freezing.
Hello? Hello?
Oh, sorry. The conducting, conducting is the upper part.
Yes, and that is where you bring in air into your body. Hello? Hello?
Okay.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
I think she's back. Okay.
Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you. The conducting zone is the upper respiratory tract, and then that's moistening all the air, and the respiratory zone is exchanging the gases.
Okay. And then moving on. Hello?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay, so moving on. So what is the larynx? Hello?
The larynx, okay, there's a slide on the larynx because there are different functions to it. So again, the larynx is like in the middle between your upper and lower respiratory tracts. So let's see what the slide says.
It says it holds the respiratory tract open and then it guards the lower tract. Mm-hmm.
Lower tract. That's 2.
Yeah.
And then it produces sound. That's 3. And speech. And that's 4. So that could be a possible multiple choice question. That's why I asked that question.
Okay.
All right. So, and then the last one, what type of transportation? And we said diffusion.
Okay. And moving on to the second lecture for the respiratory system. So what is the difference between the internal versus external respiration?
The internal versus external, again, that is, okay, so the external, it's the exchange between oxygen versus carbon dioxide in the lungs and the blood. External, lungs and blood. And then internal is the blood and the body tissues. Same thing as carbon dioxide and oxygen transfer. Okay.
So sorry, this is not loading.
Yep.
Okay, and then moving on to the second question. So what are the restrictive diseases and then what are the obstructive diseases? Hello?
Okay, this is the yeah, hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, guys, this is not.
Yeah. Okay. You're you're cutting out. That's why. But I'll let you know when I can't hear you. Okay. Well, this is the second part of the respiratory system lecture. So we're going to talk about, before we answer that question, we're going to talk about restrictive versus obstructive diseases.
Mm-hmm.
So the restrictive diseases are, let's see, and I'm going to check just to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. Pneumonia and tuberculosis, they're restrictive. And the obstructive are bronchitis, asthma, and pneumonia.
Mm-hmm. And so,
Yeah.
what's the
And the difference between obstructive. Hello,
Sorry. Hold on.
Vanessa.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello?
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna say what's the difference between the obstructive versus restrictive. So obstructive is like there's something blocking. So in bronchitis, there is the inflammation of mucus. So mucus is the one that's blocking your airway. And then in asthma, that's when mucus is also like
Mucus
and
production.
making inflammation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's blocking your airway. And then restrictive, on the other hand, is the one that is restricting you from getting gas exchange. So in pneumonia, when there's extra fluid in your lungs, you can't get your oxygen exchanged, right? Because there's something blocking. It's restricting you.
Yeah, and then
If that makes sense.
yeah, and then with this specific disease, the COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, this is like a combination of both obstructive and restrictive, because it says here that it's emphysema, chronic bronchitis, and non-reversible asthma. So it's like the reduction in the surface area of these like little alveoli, so you're not able to get gas exchange. Excuse me. Hello?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear.
Okay. Anyways, moving on to the next question. So you should know specifically like this graph that she put in her slides, and like these terms right here. So Kaela, do you want to go over the like
This
yeah
slide.
yeah or like
Okay, so
like what these mean, like so
yeah, we can go over it really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys should have done this in lab, but just to refresh you guys on what the functions are. So tidal volume is the amount of air inhaled or exhaled during an ordinary breath. So it's just the
like
ordinary
breathing,
breath. An original breath. And then the inspiratory reserve volume, that is the amount inhaled. So, and then the expiratory reserve volume is the one that you exhale, expiratory, X out. So breathing out. And then the residual is the one, remember when she was talking about getting the wind knocked out of you? So that's the extra air that doesn't
like
make your lungs stick together. Mm-hmm. So there's always going to be a little bit left, but if you get it knocked out of you, then your lungs are sticky. Okay, and then the vital capacity is the amount of air that can be inhaled or exhaled in a single breath. So just one breath. and like the maximum amount of air. And then the total lung capacity is the vital capacity plus the residual volume.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This is like basically like how much air your lung can hold,
Mhm.
basically. Like if it's like to the max or like to the minimum. But yeah. So definitely know these, like at least like have a brief understanding of like what each one stands for. Because I know she has like certain questions that are like, oh, like what is the vital capacity or something. And like you guys should be able to answer that.
Yeah, not necessarily the graph, just the functions of those terms.
Anyways.
Okay, let's move on.
What are the parts of the urinary system and what is the function of the urinary system?
So, looking at her slides, I think the most important one would be, let's see, I don't know what number this is, but it's close to the end, right before the 88 stuff. But basically, there is the renal artery, renal vein, aorta. Oh, no, not that one. Let's see. The bladder, the ureters, the kidney, and urethra.
Yeah.
So the 4.
And so while this loads,
it's towards the end.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, so while this loads, so the main function of the urinary system is again to maintain homeostasis for the body, but specifically it secretes waste and it maintains the fluid environment of the body. So it regulates like all the fluids in your system, basically, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is
There's a whole bunch of things on her slide that for the urinary.
Yeah.
So
this is how it contributes to homeostasis, maintains the blood pH, blood pressure, volume, blood composition, RBC levels, and vitamin D, and then levels of water in the body, nitrogenous and solute waste. So
and then can you scroll down to the end of the slides?
Tell me when.
Oh no.
Hello.
Okay. I hear it.
So like all the parts of the urinary. Hello?
Yeah. Hello. The 4 parts of the urinary system. Yeah, that one. So I think this graph is really good because it has the kidneys. It starts from but kind of your urine starts to be made in the kidneys, and then it goes through the ureters, which is that little skinny tube right there, and then it goes to the urinary bladder, and then to the urethra.
Yeah, that's like a good overview of
those are the 4.
Hello? That's like a good overview for like the entire system. It's a good like way to kind of visualize what's going on. Okay. So I feel like we answered, or like we went through the slide that says how is urinating helping helping homeostasis, I guess. So I guess we can move on to this question right here. So what are nephrons?
Nephrons is inside the small intestine, I believe.
Oh, it's inside the kidneys.
See.
Hello?
They're the ones that, oh, sorry, the kidneys. Yeah, my bad. I was thinking of the other lecture. But yeah, the nephrons are in the kidneys.
Yeah, and so these guys basically help filter and clean out our blood. And they help produce or they help maintain our pH and our blood volume in our body. And so it produces filtrate and fluid left behind after being filtered. So here's I guess this is the only slide she has on that. But yeah, just make sure that you know that the nephron is the functional unit of the kidney or something. She'll probably ask something broad about that. Anyways, so moving on to this question. What is the difference with the liver versus the kidney?
I think looking at her lecture, she mostly emphasized more of the kidneys. So, because there's 1, 2, 3 slides of the kidneys. So I would say more so the kidneys. I can change that on this question. So the kidneys are the ones that regulate body water volume and the body concentrations of ions and the metabolic waste and some vitamin D. And yeah, there's a lot of functions.
Yeah, stimulate production of RBC, all that good stuff. Whereas the liver.
Yeah.
Sorry, where?
Oh, I was just gonna say, make sure you know a few of them because there's a lot of functions for the kidneys.
Yeah, and versus the liver, it filtrates mainly I believe toxins. Sure. Yeah, mainly I want to say toxins, but you might want to double check on that. Anyways, moving on to this. So what is the difference between diuretic versus anti-diuretic? So which one makes you pee and then which one doesn't?
Well, diuretic is the one that makes you go pee, and an anti-diuretic, anti meaning it stops the diuretic from happening, and it'll minimize your pee, I guess. And so yeah, in alcohol, ADH is the hormone that will
It's the anti-diuretic hormone.
Yeah, that'll make you not want to go pee. So the alcohol inhibits the ADH, and so does caffeine. Alcohol and caffeine inhibit ADH.
Yeah. And so how this works is that it's if you drink coffee or alcohol, it causes the, I guess, anti-diuretic hormone. Yeah, it basically affects the secretion of that hormone. So it says it suppresses the release of ADH, which means that you won't be able to pee. Or sorry. Yeah, it makes you pee more, sorry. Caffeine and alcohol, if that makes sense. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, so alcohol and caffeine makes you pee more because it affects the secretion of this ADH hormone. Let me know if you guys have any questions on that. But anyways, moving on. So what is aldosterone?
Yeah, the aldosterone, that's the ADH, right? Basically the ADH.
Or, yeah, Aldous.
Or, oh, actually, no, sorry. That's the that's the last slide. It is sodium that's a crucial solute. That's what it says.
Yeah, so sodium is vital
Mhm.
in the muscles and neuron function. So sodium fluctuates in the body. And then, so this aldosterone is a hormone that helps, like, basically, like, regulate the levels of sodium by adjusting, like, how much sodium you, like, absorb, I guess, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But yeah. So moving on to these possible questions. So the tube from the kidney to the bladder, which one leaves the bladder?
So the tube from the kidney to the bladder is the ureters. And then which one leaves the bladder? That is the urethra. Yeah,
Yes.
urethra.
So it's like which tubes, I guess, go into the bladder and which one leaves it. Yeah, it's the ureters takes, so this is your bladder right here, and then the ureters take it there, and then it leads through this, like,
Through the urethra.
Yeah.
But the urethra is shorter in the female and longer in the males.
Yeah. I don't know if that's, like, needed information, but it's good to know. Anyways, do kidneys, the true or false, do kidneys balance blood volume and pressure?
True. Remember, the kidneys have a lot of functions, but one of them is to regulate blood volume and blood pressure.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's like the main one, but it's pretty important among, like, all of these. Anyways, moving on to or do you want to do this, like, extra credit?
Oh no, we can. Just that one. I just thought that maybe she would ask an extra credit a question about, like, why does coffee make you want to go pee more? Like, what hormone is involved with coffee or alcohol, something like that.
Yeah, and you know that it's ADH. Okay, so moving on to the endocrine system. So what is function of the endocrine system?
The endocrine system, I'm looking at our slides to tell you the right things, is the reproduction, is to regulate reproduction, metabolism, energy balance, growth and development, body defenses, and homeostasis. So this is just a whole bunch of hormones trying to control your body, or helping you control your body. All right, and yeah.
Okay.
This lecture, she put a lot of hormones. So let's see.
Yeah.
We'll probably only go over a few of them.
Okay.
Okay.
So what are glands, and give an example?
So glands are any structure that makes and secretes a hormone. And on this slide, it has a lot: the pineal gland, parathyroid gland, hypothalamus, that's a gland, pituitary gland. I think the best way to memorize some of the glands is to find where they're at, because pineal, remember your brain. So think of brain, so the gland is in there. And then let's see, the parathyroid is by your thyroid, so parathyroid glands are over there.
Pituitary, also in your brain. Thyroid right next to your parathyroid, like here. Adrenal. There's also, like, gonads, which is like your sex organs. Pancreas, placenta, So
The
what?
adrenal glands probably like think of like adrenaline. Like
Yeah.
in your inside your stomach, you feel like, I don't know, butterflies or something.
Yeah, it says
The adrenal glands or
yeah.
the hormones.
It says here that it raises like blood glucose, affects sodium potassium levels, produces small amounts of sex hormones. She probably won't ask you specifically what like these do. I would say like specifically like, oh, what does the parathyroid gland do? She's more of like general idea, like what are glands kind of thing. So, and like being able to like understand like the example. Yeah, so moving on. So what is the difference between steroid versus non-steroid hormones? So.
Okay. So these steroids are the ones that are like crossing the membrane super slow, and the non-steroids are the ones that are like really, really fast. So
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain more of this, but that's basically the main difference between those two.
Yeah, I believe these right here, androgens, estrogens, glucocorticoids, calcitrol, I think these are examples of the steroid hormones. And like when we mean cell membrane, we mean like a single cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's slowly, hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. And then versus the non-steroid ones, it says it binds to receptors at cell membrane surfaces. Yeah, so these are fast-acting and powerful. So like epinephrine, again, and then the anti-diuretic hormone, which we saw earlier in the last lecture. These guys are like, they work very fast, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyways, moving on. So, just kidding. She will probably ask you, what are the pituitary glands, hypothalamus, thyroids, pancreas, gonads, and what do they do?
Yeah, those are just some examples. I picked out those ones because they're kind of, I don't know, they produce really important hormones. I get, let's see.
For like this class specifically, like because they produced a lot, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we kind of went over those ones, so we'll kind of skip that one. Yeah.
Okay, so what disrupts the endocrine system? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so what disrupts the endocrine system?
I don't really remember. Sorry. I'm trying to look for it.
So it says here that BPA, which is like found in your water bottles and like the phthalates, I guess.
Hello, it's all the way done. Yeah.
These are basically like chemicals, I would say, that help like, I guess, disrupt the balance in your body. So that's what causes like, I guess like a hormone imbalance, if you will. But yeah, those.
So yeah, BPA's in water bottles.
And I'm pretty sure
all these pesticides and yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so possible questions. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, so possible, do you want to do the possible questions?
Sure.
Okay, so what is the difference between the thalamus versus the hypothalamus?
The thalamus is the Okay, so the hypothalamus is in your brain, and then the thalamus is like,
Also in your brain.
or no, I think I meant thymus, because
Oh, thymus.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, because I was gonna say the same thing. The thalamus is also in your brain, but it's thymus. Yeah, thymus is it's a hormone that produces T cells.
Yes, and then
And
hypothalamus,
then,
a structure in your brain.
yeah, a structure that regulates the pituitary gland.
Yes, and then, as remembered, pituitary is for stimulating the thyroids and the adrenal glands. Yeah, it's basically like the hormone controller of the brain. Anyways, so what is the master gland?
The master gland is the pituitary because it produces hormones that signal other hormones such as the thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, and pineal. I'm reading it off her slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, the master gland is the pituitary. It's
Yes.
probably a multiple choice question.
Yeah,
right?
It's basically like it produces a lot of hormones. That's the main thing that you need to know about the pituitary. Excuse me. So T3 or T4 hormones are the enlargement of the thyroid. I don't know what you're trying to say with this question.
Yes. So, yeah, this is the part where she was talking about, like, if T3 and T4 is going to be disrupted, then the goiter or gigantism is what's going to happen. So, yeah, those pictures aren't very pretty. Like, the goiter enlarges and your neck's going to get all big. So, the T3 and T4 are important to maintain. And again, homeostasis, maintaining internal balances inside of your body.
Yeah, and so T3 and T4 are hormones, right?
Yeah.
So these are hormones
And
that
it's
control.
and it's made in the thyroid.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So I think that is about it.
So if you guys want us to go over the first part, just let us know. Not like meaning like the first part, like the nervous system, or like the first part of the cardiovascular system, I guess. Just let us know. But that is all that we
That we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.